Users of Act Premium will be aware that there are access level controls allowing you to control specifically which records in a database are visible to either individuals or teams of users. And this has been very useful in a number of circumstances. An example would be if you've got a distributed network of field salespeople and where a field salesperson logs into the database, perhaps you only want to provide them with visibility of contacts that they're working with, customers that they're managing. And of course you could set Act up so that if they add new records, visibility is limited to them. But if new records are added by other people or centrally added by an administrator through import, you'd have to manually apply those visibility controls. One of the new features in version 17 then can automate that process, so we can set up a smart task to monitor conditions in the data and automatically change record access where conditions are met. So for example, in this database, perhaps we've got a sales user that covers the East Midlands area. We could set a smart task up to monitor perhaps county or postcode fields such that when a record is added in a certain postcode area, the access is changed accordingly. So let's look at an example of that now. So if you go to the Schedule menu and select Manage Smart Tasks, the Smart Task dialog window will pop open. And I'm going to create a new smart task, and I'm going to call the smart task Set Record Manager East Midlands Area. Now, of course, with any smart task I can look at characteristics of contact records or opportunity. I'm particularly focusing on contact records for this example. In the list of triggers that are available, I'm going to choose Run When Conditions Are Met. And of course that will invoke the query manager, which allows me to specify exactly what those conditions will be. So in my example, because I'm looking at contacts that I'm allocating to a record manager in the East Midlands, I'm just going to use postcode. So where the postcode starts with DE, which is the Derbyshire postcode areas, I'm going to add that to the list of criteria. The East Midlands is also enveloping Nottingham and Leicester, so I might elaborate the query a little bit to say include any records where the postcode starts with either DE or NG or LE. Of course I need to change the and or to an or else it's not going to logically work. So there's only one record that I've added as a test just for the purposes of this exercise, but you'd build up the query according to the territory managed by that particular user. So having determined what records are affected, what I can then do is go on to add the step, the action. So what I'm choosing now from the list is Edit Access List. So this has only been introduced in version 17. So I'm changing the access list for records added in the East Midlands to my territory manager for that East Midlands territory, which is Melissa Pierce. Chris Huffman is already in there, that's the administrator user, so he can see those records as well. So I'm selecting by individual, or of course I could choose by team. Maybe I also want office administrators to be able to see these records as well. Not only do I want to change visibility of the new record that I've added in that postcode area so that the field salesperson responsible can see it, I also want to change the record manager field on that record to reflect the sales manager. So I'm going to add a further step, which is to update field, and I'm updating the record manager field in this case to that same territory manager, Melissa Pierce. So once the smart task is put in place, I can enable auto run, and that's just going to tick away. So let's see that in practice then. In order to populate these fields quickly, I'm just going to duplicate the existing contact. And let's put in a name. So I've created a new contact, I've saved it to the system, it meets the criteria. The smart tasks will trigger on a regular basis, so you're talking about waiting maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It might be necessary to refresh the screen or to move off the record and back onto it before you see the change. So if I click F5 to refresh the screen, you can see that the record manager has now changed to Melissa for this contact, and the record is also limited access. It's only visible to administrator Chris Huffman, the sales manager Melissa Pierce, and people in the Office administration team, together of course with administrators on the database.